It's been a very fun ride going back to an era that I somehow have nostalgia for, even though I was only 4 months old during the first album. As you guys know, I went through every Paramore album, reacted to it, gave it my thoughts, my first initial reactions, as that's important too. And yeah, if you guys didn't know that, then please go back on my channel and watch those. You know, then this video will make a lot more sense. But yeah, it was a crazy ride, so go check those videos out. And yeah, we finally made it. Today, I'm going to be ranking every album, giving my thoughts on them, making a tier list, giving my review for every album and Paramore as a whole. This is my first time listening to Paramore in 2023, so yeah, do they hold up? Let's see. Make sure to like and subscribe, and yeah guys, let's go. So starting off with the first album, All We Know Is Fallen. This album feels nostalgic even though I was only 4 months old when it dropped, like I said, 2005, like, I don't know, everything from the singing to the songwriting, the instrumentals, it all feels like a video game, like those little skateboarding games, Disney Channel. This album feels like it could fit into the Mike V skateboarding party soundtrack. If you guys know that game, you're a real one. So while I do think that the majority of this album is only supposed to be like quote unquote bangers, like they had some of the more catchy songs on this album, and of course this being their first album, they don't have that many intricate or like experimental artistic choices yet. They do a lot of cool things on this album that I wasn't expecting. They have some really cool, like super unique shoegaze inspired guitar riffs. They have some really unique arrangement and some really like weird, cool mixing choices. But let's be for real guys, the main reason that we like this album, at least for me, but I'm pretty sure it's for you guys as well, is that this album makes me feel like we're such a badass. Like, it's extremely catchy, the rock elements mixed with Haley's very powerful voice, like, it makes me feel like the main character of a movie, bro. It's like crazy. The main melodies always feel like outros to movies. I think this is a great album because it flows really well. It has bangers throughout, and it has attempts to not feel stale. Like, they could have just had it be the same thing the whole way through, but no, they decided to make some switch ups. They decided to change the tone of some of the songs by adding like some more slower, just like chill songs, which I really appreciate. I do feel like this is one of the only few sounds that could work if it's just like 8 songs that are just pure bangers, but they decided to be a bit more artistic than that, which I really respect. So yeah, if you guys like the classic pop punk style, I highly recommend it. It's not anything like super intricate or like crazy complex or anything like that. It has a bunch of bangers that I'm sure you guys will like. If you play Call of Duty, then yeah, this album's for you. My favorite songs on here are the intro track, Brighter, Here We Go Again, Never Let This Go, but if I had to pick, I think All We Know. The energy is just so crazy on that song. And my least favorite song is Whoa. It just sounds like a really cheap version of like an Austin and Ally type song. Like, it's just kind of not great. But yeah, I'll put the score on the screen right now. And then also put the tier list on the screen so you can kind of see how it ranks among all the other albums. Alright, their next album, Riot. This album is very cool because while their first album is obviously very pop, I think this album, it leans even more pop with them experimenting on different sounds on songs like That's What You Get, which is an amazing song by the way. They also stayed true to what made them good in their last album with super catchy hooks, high energy, and all that sort of good stuff. I also feel like Haley got more comfortable with her personality being on the song, as she feels more like a person and less as like kind of like a vessel for like how this song is. Like, she's kind of like on the first album, it kind of feels like she's just kind of there to just sing the song and that's kind of it. But here she feels a lot more personable on songs like Misery. But yeah, some of the bigger hits on here, they feel more accidental rather than like purposeful, you know? Like, I feel like on the first album they were really purposely like trying to like synthetically create a hit, but on here it feels like Haley put like a bunch of her personality into the more big banger songs, and that's kind of why they became bangers, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, I also found it interesting that some of like the more catchy songs weren't the big bangers, and there were some of the more like slower, subdued songs like When It Rains. It's one of the catchiest songs, but it's also one of the more chill songs. But of course, some of the best songs are the high energy, high intensity songs like Let the Flames Burn. That shit is fire. But yeah, there are a lot more slow, relaxing songs, which I really appreciate. I think the balance is really good. It's a bit all over the place, but overall, I think it's really good. My favorite songs on here are Let the Flames Burn, Misery Business, and That's What You Get. Again, I'll put the score and the tier list on the screen. Alright, so next is Brand New Eyes. This album feels like a more fleshed out version of their first album. However, I don't like it as much, like re-listening to it. In my reaction video, I said this is one of their best, and it is good, but now looking back, I don't know if that was like the correct phrasing of that, you know what I mean? I don't think that opinion is correct. It holds up anymore. Of course, there are amazing songs on here, like Careful, Misguided Ghosts, and All I Wanted, which we'll talk about later. The rest of the album is really good, but in the context of the other albums, it doesn't really stand out too much to me. There are a lot of great melodies and ideas, like the riff on Playing God is great. The Only Exception is great, the writing is really strong, and Brick by Boring Brick is super entertaining, and the flow she sings is super catchy. But I don't know, man, the instrumentals overall don't really do it for me. It's more about the vocals, which I feel like is a tiny step back from the second album, as I feel like the second album is more like instrumentally focused and as a focus on evolving instrumentally, and so just going back to like having a little bit more basic instrumentals is kind of like a letdown for me. I do like that Haley is getting more and more personable each album. I feel like she's letting her personality shine through more, especially on songs like Brick by Boring Brick. Like that song is crazy. Her energy and like her personality really shows on there. But yeah, overall it's nothing too crazy. There are some really crazy songs like Careful, and that feels like a quintessential Paramore song. Like that song is fire. Misguided Ghost is a super underrated song. It's a crazy like conceptual song about like it's like a metaphor of you being a ghost lost in the world, floating around, not really sure where to go, kind of feeling like you're invisible. Like that song is beautiful, super cool conceptually. And of course, All I Wanted is one of the best Paramore songs on God. Like it's so good. It's like peak old pop punk skating game. Like it is like every like Call of Duty montage ever. It is just so good. It's peak. Alright, so here we go to one of the albums that, safe to say, I thought was kind of bad. Paramore Self-Titled. So first of all, this album did not have to be this long. 17 songs and an hour and 3 minutes is crazy. It's also crazy that it's this long and it's this ass. Like, most of the regular songs on here are some ass. They sound super cheap, very weak melody-wise. They sound like some cash grab type music. They got some whack ass interludes that are super pointless. Still Into You is still a banger, but overall this album isn't really for me. There are only a couple of songs I'll come back to, like Still Into You, Ain't It Fun, Future. Yeah, that's kind of it. The rest are either boring, cheap sounding, or just whack. Definitely my least favorite album. Alright, After Laughter. This album is much better. Like, they got Hard Times on here. I didn't even know that was a Paramore song, but Hard Times is fire. But yeah, this is a crazy, like, genre style switch from them. Like, they just came out with this crazy, like, pop, groovy, this dance, alternative dance, which is, like, insane. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a 180 from their old stuff, but they took that risk and it really paid off. Like, this album is really good. I feel like their last album was trying too hard to appeal to the masses and also their fan base, but this album, like I said, it took a risk and tried to appeal to like everyone pretty much, or even no one at the same time. Like, I feel like they're really trying to make an album for them, and I think that's the most important part in making music, is making songs that you would want to hear personally. And so I think they did that really well. It's super groovy, and like it is like it's crazy. It just makes you want to dance. It's like they got swag pretty much. They got the swag in all these songs. It's like the swag is infused in each little track, each part of the song. Like, it is slightly cheesy. However, I think the whole style works really well as an album, because there's a lot of things you can do in this genre style thing, because they kind of made it up. It seems like they kind of really like took a bunch of different genres and made it their own. I feel like there's a lot of stuff you can do with it while still having signature sounds that will still kind of make it comprehensive as an album, make it flow really well. We even got a taste of like really crazy lyrical concepts like idol worship that we'll see on like the next album. Idol worship is basically about like not worshiping celebrities to this high pedestal and giving them this immense pressure to be perfect, because no human's perfect, and putting this pressure on them gives them huge anxiety to do everything perfectly, and that's like not healthy at all. For like the person to be like worshiping that person so much that they think that they can do no wrong, and it's also completely super unhealthy for the celebrity, because they didn't really ask for this, you know? They didn't want to be held to this huge pedestal that they have to like abide by. So yeah, I think that's like a crazy message. It's super important. Yeah, it's a great album. My favorite songs gotta be Hard Times, Caught in the Middle, Idol Worship, Told You So, and Tell Me How. So this next album is very interesting. It's very new, and it's low-key very good. This is their most mature album, both lyrically and sonically, as I feel like these songs are catered towards the lyrics and not necessarily like a popular trend or sound. I feel like each song is different, each song stands out, and while this may not seem like a good thing as it is an album, I think the songs are good enough on their own where they can flow kind of as like a bunch of good songs. It just all sounds really good. There are great melodies, like the guitar riff on Big Man Lil Dignity, it's so sick. The hook is also really good. Figure 8 has this crazy little intro pluck melody thing, it's crazy. And then it goes into that high energy, like just big sounding hook that like kind of sounds like some of the old Paramore stuff. And even the slower songs like Liar are super great. It's not as heavily like themed as After Laughter sonically, but that's not really what I want to talk about in this like part of the review. I mostly want to focus on the lyrics because that's what I feel like is this album's strong suit. First off, I want to talk about the song The News. And this is the song that I probably resonate the most lyrically, and that's because like since I was a kid, I've always like just thought of the idea that's presented in this song, and that being that the news is kind of shit. The news is like really bad for your mental health if you kind of like watch it and you kind of I'm self-aware of it, because it really only shows bad stuff happening in the world. They don't offer any solutions or anything on how to fix it. They just kind of say, hey, the world's kind of falling apart, nothing we can do, which is not good if you're like have mental issues. It's not good at all for anyone really. And they kind of break that down into like why it's bad and like what they're doing, which I think is a really important message, because yeah man, the news just like isn't good. Like bad news sells, and so they want to like show the worst parts of everything just to get you scared, because you know if you're scared you're gonna want to buy things that like protect you. So yeah, it's all a business rather than showing like the true news. It's just like super sensationalized and it's just super scummy. Running Out of Time is like a kind of like a commentary on like American, or just like I guess like more so American work culture. I'm sure it happens in other countries, but it's more so like American culture of getting like waking up like super early to go to work. You know, you get crucified if you're late, even if it wasn't your fault, even if you have like kids, or even if there's like traffic or weather, whatever it is. Like, you know, you get in trouble if you're running late, and you're supposed to be perfect if you're working at some company that doesn't really care about you, you know. And so it's a kind of a commentary on that, which I think is also really important, because people talk about it but they don't really do much to do anything about it. They kind of just like accept it and be like, oh well, what are we supposed to do, you know. But I think this song is really good at like taking a stance on something and like kind of like showing how ridiculous this whole situation is. And there's also a song called You First, which I think is also a very important message. It's basically a song that talks about like letting go of a toxic relationship, and it kind of feeds into the metaphor of like a stray dog, of like you don't want to feed a stray dog because they'll keep coming back to you. That's basically like the same thing as like if you keep feeding someone your attention and your company and your love, even if you don't really like them, they're gonna keep coming back because they're feeding off your attention, and they think that it's okay to do this stuff to you because you're not really retaliating, I guess. And so it's important to retaliate and like, you know, have your barriers and your boundaries and say, hey, don't do this. Like I don't want you in my life anymore. I think they do a good job at like showing that. And yeah, there's a lot of other stuff too, but I don't really want to spoil everything, you know. But I think if you like social commentary on like real world issues in a more of like a, not really like a playful way, but like in a more palatable way, I think they just wanted to make an album to help spread their messages, and they just chose the instrumentals that would do the best at spreading it, you know, making it the most palatable while still retaining its integrity. And yeah, overall, I had a super fun journey listening to Paramore for the first time. I never knew how artistic this band was. Honestly, I just kind of thought there was kind of some like cheap, just like regular schmegular pop punk band, but their discography goes super deep. There's some crazy like deep cuts on their whole discography. They have some really cool like variety in music. It's not just like regular pop punk stuff with the drums and everything like that. They got some like real hidden gems. Like Misguided Ghost is still like a super hidden gem that I think you guys should check out. It's very low key, which I think is interesting for Paramore. And it's also interesting to see like the progression of music in such like a short amount of time. Like I would think that they'd like spread themselves a bit more thin and do the pop punk sound for more. And I thought they would do the pop punk sound for a lot longer, but they kind of transitioned pretty quickly into like After Laughter, doing some like completely different stuff. But yeah man, their bangers still have a chokehold on me. Still Into You, All I Wanted, That's What You Get, absolute classics. And yeah, even their softer stuff, it's still really good. Like they got a bunch of really nice, quiet, like just really nice, chill, relaxing songs. Like I did not expect that at all. There are of course some stuff I don't like. Pretty much like the whole Paramore self-titled album I don't really like, but I mean, no band doesn't have its flaws. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of Paramore down in the comments down below. I'm sure a lot of you are big Paramore fans, but yeah guys, if you guys are watching me for the first time, let me know what you guys think of Paramore. Make sure to like and subscribe. I do this all the time, where I spend like a week or so, however long, reacting to an artist's whole discography, and then I do these type of videos where I review them in an overall, just like general sense, I guess, you know. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys liked it, make sure to like and subscribe. That helped me out a lot. Jay and Dola out.